Early astronomers. Ptolemy. Ptolemy was an astronomer and mathematician. He believed that the Earth was the center of the universe. The word for Earth Greek is geo, so we call this idea a geocentric theory. Even starting with this incorrect theory, he was able to combine that he saw of the first star's movements with mathematics, especially geometry, to predict the movements of the planets. His famous work was called the Almagesti. In order to make his predictions true, he worked out that the planets must move in epicycles, smaller cycles, and the Earth itself moved along an equine. None of this was true, but it made the math work for his predictions. This flawed view of the universe was accepted for many centuries. Aristotle. He is sometimes called the grandfather of science. He studied under the great philosopher Plato and later started with his own school, the Lyceum at Athens. He too believed in a geocentric universe and that the planets and stars were perfect spheres through Earth itself was not. He further thought that the movements of the planets and stars must be circular since they were perfect, and if the motions were circular, then they could go on forever. Today we know that none of this is the case, but Aristotle was so respected that this wrong answer were taught for a very long time. Aristotle, outside of astronomy, was a champion observer. He was one of the first to study plants, animals, and people in a scientific way, and he did believe in experimenting whenever possible and develop logical ways of thinking. This is critical legacy for all the scientists who follow after him. Copernicus. Well, over 1,000 years later, Nicholas Copernicus came up with a radical way of looking at the universe. His heliocentric system put the sun, Helio, at the center of our system. He was not the first to have this theory. Earlier star watchers had believed the same, but it was Copernicus who brought it to the world of the Renaissance and used his own observations of the movements of the planets to back up his ideas. His ideas, including the revelation that the Earth rotates on its axis, were too different for most of the scholars of his time to accept. They used only parts of this theory. Those who did study his work intact often did so in secret. They were called Copernicans. Galileo. Born in Pisa, Italy approximately 100 years after Copernicus, Galileo became a brilliant student with an amazing genius for invention and observation. He had his own ideas on how motion really worked, as opposite to what Aristotle had thought, and devised a telescope that could enlarge objects up to 20 times. He was able to use this telescope to prove the truth of the Copernican system of heliocentrism. He published his observations, which went against the established teaching of the Church. He was brought to trial, and although he made a confession of wrongdoing, he was still imprisoned for life. But it was too late to lock away the knowledge that Galileo shared. Other scientists include Sir Isaac Newton and Johannes Kepler said its importance and were able to learn even more about the ways of the world and the heavens beyond.